Okay, here's one of the classics that says, Section 1021 states that it does not apply to U.S. citizens. How do you address that? Well, the fact that that's not true.
We went to the Democratic leadership and said, if you will put in there that it doesn't apply to U.S. citizens, we'll drop the lawsuit. Right. And they didn't put it in because they know damn well that it does apply to U.S. citizens. Yeah. If they'd put it in, we wouldn't have continued the suit.
What are the conditions you think would happen in society where the military will start to be sent out to grab people? Have they already gone and started grabbing people? Do we know a number?
You know, it was one of the interesting things about the trial itself was that one of my co-plaintiffs, and after I brought the case, I was joined by Chomsky and Daniel Ellsberg and Alexa O'Brien and others. One of the co-plaintiffs, Alexa, who founded U.S. Day of Rage, we know because of the leaks, the hacking that was done by Jeremy Hammond, the Stratford leaks. We hacked into a private security firm and released 5 million emails.
Yeah, he was a Chicago Food Not Bombs volunteer for many years, and his twin brother still does.
And I was in the courtroom when he was sentenced, and I interviewed him in jail. So there's an email exchange that he leaked between the private security officials and Homeland Security. And they are trying to link U.S. Day of Rage and Alexa O'Brien to Al-Qaeda. That's why they passed the terrorism laws. It has nothing to do with terrorism. It has to do with the capacity to visit those terrorism laws upon the rest of us. And at what point would they use it on the rest of us? At a moment that they feel threatened. I mean, right now they don't feel threatened. But they want that mechanism, should they feel their hold on power challenged. They want the legal and the physical mechanisms to retain power. Because the thing about the corporate state is that it knows only one word, which is more. It will, and Marx kind of nailed it, it will continue to exploit, exhaust, until there's blowback. I mean, a rational response to the Occupy movement, if the state was rational, would have been a massive jobs program, especially targeted at people under the age of 25, forgiveness of all student debt, a moratorium on foreclosures and bank repossessions, and a rational health care program. That's a minimum, but they didn't respond rationally. They, in a coordinated federal effort, not only physically eradicated the encampments, but have, since the eradication of the encampments, been persecuting the activists, and they know who they are because they have downloaded all the electronic communications. So all of the major engines of the Occupy movement in New York have been charged with felonies, which they didn't commit. I mean, it's almost a joke. I have a friend who was in Zuccotti Park. He had a pair of scissors in his hand. They arrested him for assault with a deadly weapon against a New York City police officer. Now, they filmed that park 24 hours a day, but they didn't happen to have film of that because he didn't do it. They haul him up in front of the court. He wants to plea out, and the prosecutor says he can't plea out. He's on the Homeland Terrorism Security List. Eventually, they let him plea out, but he has to accept a felony conviction and a 5-year probation period. And as you know, if you get picked up on a felony conviction, that's it. So that's how they're neutralizing, aside from the fact that they are going to, these apartments in Brooklyn or the place where they're kicking down the doors and stealing all of their electronic equipment. I mean, the underground harassment throughout the country against these activists, which they can carry out because of mass surveillance, is largely unseen by the wider community and ignored by the press.
If it takes coming to the realization that you are personally in danger of being taken off the street and incarcerated and held indefinitely with no right to a trial or a lawyer, if it takes that to get our community's attention, we should draw that attention to these realities on the part of our community. That's why we're asking you to help us, and join with us to get this simple statute passed here in Santa Cruz and in Santa Cruz County. Because the reality is that what we're doing is we're asking that a person who is potentially targeted here in our county or in our city has the right to be given protective custody, to be brought into before a magistrate and give the U.S. federal government the opportunity, if they choose, to come and present evidence pursuant to our Constitution, showing evidence that this person has committed a specific crime, and that they will be given a fair trial on that charge. So that we're not suggesting that Santa Cruz and Santa Cruz County be made a sanctuary for anybody who might be targeted by the National Defense Authorization Act. What we're providing, pursuant to the statute, is due process. And if, in fact, the Justice Department chooses to try to challenge what we're doing, then you can bet we'll have standing. And getting standing in front of a federal court to challenge the constitutionality of this is part of the objective of what we're asking you to do. That's why we're asking you here tonight.